Today, I want to tell you a story of a manufacturer that did website design correctly. I'm going to tell you about the 5 C's of manufacturing website design and how these 5 C's are going to help you build a website or update your website so that you get the most results for it and get great leads, get new business, and actually generate revenue. Let's get into it. This manufacturer is called Custom Engineering, and they manufacture hydraulic presses, heated platens, and you can see the rest of their offerings here on this homepage. Now, the first C that I want to talk about is clear display of offerings, clear service offerings. So when you first glance at this website, you can instantly recognize the breadth of their offerings. You see metal fabrication, welding, machining, hydraulic presses, and heating platens. And what's important here is that we are quickly characterizing to the visitor exactly what we offer. We all know that manufacturing is a very competitive space. And when you have a lot of options, you're going to really sift through them pretty quickly by seeing, hey, when I'm looking at this website, I know exactly what they offer. They are exactly the type of company that I'm looking for. And those are the type of people that are going to reach out to you through this website. The second thing that's really important about a great manufacturing website is having credibility, displaying your credibility, demonstrating your credibility. One of the most common ways that manufacturers demonstrate their credibility is through certifications. Now, there are other mechanisms, and not every manufacturer out there has certifications to display. But in this particular place, if you scroll down just a little bit here, you can see we have this cool banner that just kind of flips through some of their accreditations, certifications, memberships, and things of that nature. And so what this really speaks to is their credibility, their integration into the manufacturing space and some of the specific niches that they work in. The third C is clear calls to action. So as we're going through this website, we want to make readily available to anybody that's visiting this website a call to action. And a call to action is simply, now that you know who we are, what we do, here's what you need to do next. And so you can see I'm hovering over the call to action button here, contact us today or request a quote. Now, a lot of times we'll incorporate a couple different calls to action depending on the action that we want that visitor to take. What we do find in a lot of cases is that general contact us button can go to one inbox that's maybe a little bit lower priority. And the reason for that is it tends to be kind of a catch-all. You know, regardless of what type of website you're building, there's a lot of spam on the web today. It's nice to have an inbox that's catching quite a bit of that spam. And what we find is if we also incorporate a request to quote button, a lot of times we're going to get almost entirely good inquiries from that particular lead form. So those are your calls to action. Having those sprinkled throughout your website. As you scroll down this site, you're going to see we're always having either a phone number or a call to action readily available on these sections. The next one is content. So content is arguably the most important part of your website. And there's a lot of different aspects to content. And so when I'm referring to content, I'm referring to the things that not only people read when they're on your website, but I'm also referring to things that Google or other search engines see on your website. The reason why content is so important is that if you do not have the right keywords in the right places and the right types of content, not only will you not convert your visitor to a customer, because they aren't seeing what they're looking for, but you may never rank for the terms that are actually going to bring you business. So let me just show you an example here of a page of content that is well constructed. So one thing we know, or one thing I know from working with fabrication companies, is that a lot of them tend to get poor leads. And one of the reasons for this is a lot of times there's, some small-time guy that has a muffler that needs fixed, and he'll look for a fabrication company to fix his muffler. Well, obviously somebody like Custom Engineering that's building these large hydraulic presses, doing these heavy industrial fabrication jobs, is not interested in something small like that. So the first part of content development is really understanding what would be a search term that somebody in your target market, what would they Google if they were looking for your specific type of offering? Because here's the thing, if you Google the term fabrication, you're going to get a lot of search results, and not all of those results are going to be relevant to what you're looking for. So if I'm looking for somebody that has, lifting cranes that can do these really large scale objects, I'm going to specify that in my search term. So with this particular page, and we've done some research on this term and determined that this would be a good fit for them based on search volume, we decided on the term heavy metal fabrication. And now this is just one of many, many terms that could apply to what they do. Another one might be industrial fabrication. But these are terms that are making the term fabrication a little bit more specific, a little bit more niche, but they're also going to provide a better customer, and a better visitor to this website. So now that we've selected a term like heavy metal fabrication, the next thing we need to do is incorporate that term into the right places on this page. So the reason we're doing this is we want to make sure that when Google looks at this page, they're seeing that this page should rank for the term heavy metal fabrication. So one of the first places Google is going to look to identify what this page is about is called your SEO title. Now your SEO title, if you can see this, is where I'm hovering my mouse up there at the top. You'll see it in your tab at the top of your browser when you're on a given page. That's the first place you're going to see an SEO title. There is one other place that you can see an SEO title, and that's actually in search results. If you Google a term like heavy metal fabrication, when you see those listings for individual companies on that page, the biggest words on that listing is going to be your SEO title. So that gets pulled into search results. So if we want to rank for this term, it has to be in your SEO title. Now where you actually input that is if you log into the content management system that your website's built on. In this case, it's WordPress. So you log into WordPress, you go to this page, and you should see a field that says SEO title. Sometimes people call it a meta title. There's other terms for it, but this is your SEO title, and you would just input those keywords there. The next place that it's really important to have the keyword set that you want to rank for is called your H1. And that's kind of a coding term, but basically that refers to the largest text on your page. And so it makes sense that Google would look at the largest text on your page and assume that, hey, that's what this page is about. So in this particular case, you can also see that keyword set represented here in my H1. The next part that's really, really important, and this is what a lot of people forget, is having a well-developed page on the topic. And so after we've kind of put those keywords into those core areas of the website, we also want to have a good page of content about that. So in this case, we've got a subheading that has maybe just a little bit of a keyword variation. We've got a little block of content, and that just talks about, hey, here's why you need to work with us. Here's why we're good at what we do, and then our get a quote. And so a lot of times I hear people say, hey, I don't want people to drown in the content on my page. I don't want them to just have to read through tons of content to get where they're going. Nobody's going to read all that content. Well, you're absolutely right. No one's going to read all that content. And that's why we kind of put this featured area at the top here where we're saying, here's some of the highlights of our company. If that makes sense to you, get a quote. But down here, we've got additional content written out about this topic. And we want to make sure that there's enough content on this page that Google can see that this is what we call a well-developed page on the topic. If we only had that one paragraph at the beginning, Google would not see this as a well-developed page on the topic. So really, your content has to do with good keyword selection that's really, really relevant to what you're offering, and then having that well-developed page on the topic of that subject matter. So the last aspect of this is what we refer to as conversions. So conversions can refer to a number of different things, but the basic idea is that once we have generated these pages of content, build ourselves a great website, we want to know how people are interacting with it. We want to know how people are finding it in search results. So as far as tracking the actual conversions, there's a couple different ways that we can do it. Number one, if your website is built on WordPress or most modern CMSs, when you log into the back end of the website, you can see everyone that's filling out the lead form or the quote form. And so you'll get a list of those. You can export the Excel file. What the CMS usually also does is send you an email notification of that inquiry. So you don't necessarily have to log into the website to see it. It'll actually be located there in the back end of the website and forward to your email. One of the more interesting pieces of information for me, though, as a marketer, is understanding how my pages are ranking in search results for the terms that are bringing me business. So there's a free tool that I use very extensively, and it's a tool that Google provides us, but basically what it allows us to do is see how each page on our website is ranking for all of the terms that we want it to rank for. That tool is called Google Search Console. I'm going to give you a quick tour of Google Search Console. So now I have Google Search Console pulled up, and we see some different pieces of information here. Now, just to backtrack real quick here, in order to incorporate Google Search Console and get this data, all you need to do is go to Google and Google the words Google Search Console, and it'll walk you through the steps of setting up an account and linking it to your website. If you don't have the capability to do this yourself, I'm sure you have a web developer or a marketing person in your company that can help you set this up. But it's pretty straightforward, and I really would emphasize the idea that every manufacturer out there needs to have this tool on their website so they kind of know how they're ranking for things, what traffic they're getting to their website from organic search results. And organic search results is simply the results inside of Google that are just natural listings, the ones just naturally ranked there. So this tool is giving us some different pieces of information. The two most important pieces of information for us to look at right now are the blue line here, which refers to clicks. So that's how many people are finding you in search results and clicking on your listing. And then impressions. And impressions refer to how many people are seeing you in search results. So the first thing we can see here is that this chart is increasing over time. We've increased probably about 20-30% over the past year. So that's a great thing. As you're adding new content to your website, as you're building backlinks and doing other SEO activities, you should see your traffic increase over time. So what is even more interesting, though, is to go down here and look at the actual queries, the search queries that we're ranking for. So what we're seeing here, this list of terms on the left-hand side, are terms that people have physically typed into Google, and they hit search and they saw a list of listings. Your company was one of them, and then they clicked on you. So custom engineering, company name, obviously going to be one of the more predominant keywords that they're going to rank for. But you can see over this 16-month period, they've gotten 653 clicks and 12,000 some impressions for that exact term. Now, what I'm even more interested in is some of these keywords that don't have to do with their company name. And so I'm going to add this average position column in here because it's going to give us a little bit better information. So this term, for example, heating platen. This is something that they manufacture. You can see that they rank position 1 for that. And that's a nationwide ranking. So I want to show you a process that I use to identify new keyword opportunities and to rank for additional terms. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to order these keywords by position. So now I can see everything that we rank number 1 for, number 2, number 3, etc. So I'm going to expand this out a little bit here. So you can see we've got a lot of number 1 listings, 2, 3, and the reason why there's a decimal here is that this is an average position over 16 months. So what I'll do is I'll scroll down this list until I get back past position 10. And the reason I do that is that I know, just from my own use of search engines, and most people are aware of this, usually you aren't going to scroll past the first 10 results in order to click on somebody. So really we want to ideally be in that top 5, and obviously if we can be in position 1 or 2, that's going to be even better. But I look at these keywords that rank 10 and below as opportunity keywords. And so the idea here is that I know that we're not too far off of that first scroll of search results. And I also can get a gauge of how many people are Googling that term by looking at my impressions column here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for one of these keywords that is in, beyond the 10 mark and is getting a lot of impressions. And that's going to be one of the keywords that I'm going to recommend that we work on for the following month. So in this case here, I can see, hot platen press here has 492 impressions at about position 13. Custom process vessel, that's a keyword I'd have to ask the customer about just to understand a little bit more if that's relevant to them, but that has 503. That looks pretty good. Now this one really jumps out at me here. This one has over 1,000 impressions, average position of 14, custom pressure vessel. Now this is very relevant to them. I know that right off the top of my head, and it's getting a lot of impressions. It's actually got a click. So to me, this could be a really, really good opportunity. So what do we do at this point? Now we have a new keyword set. We develop a new page that has this keyword set in the SEO title, in the heading, and just develop a nice page of content about that. And there's a really good chance we're going to be able to push this keyword onto that first scroll of search results and push that ranking up quite a bit. So that's the conversion aspect. So when we build a manufacturing website, it's a lot more than just an aesthetic place to drive traffic. It's more than just providing information to our customers or the people that are visiting the website. It's all about clearly presenting ourselves. We're selling ourselves to that customer. We're selling ourselves to the search engines. And we're really using this as a massive lead generator, something that generates a ton of business for us and takes the load off of our outside sales team. So a really nicely designed, well thought out website that encompasses the 5 C's of clear offerings, credibility, calls to action, content, and conversions is really the direction that you need to go.